Princess is getting a Claybar today. We're taking off all of the old wax. We're going to strip it and then Claybar it and apply new wax. To strip it, we're going to use Dawn dish soap and a bucket and a sponge. Make up a batch of soapy water to strip the car with. Starting at the top of the car. Start at the top of the car and work your way down. Be generous with the soap to help clean off all the wax, as much of the wax as possible. If you're looking at my car and seeing all the beading and wondering why I'm bothering to strip the wax off and re-waxing it, it's been a few years since I've actually done this, so I figured it was time. Anytime you want to change brands of wax, you want to do this, or if you haven't done it in a while, it's good to get all of the impurities out of your paint. Here you can see the difference between the washed side and the unwashed side. See the difference in the beading or the lack of beading, where I've cleaned the wax off and where I haven't. I'm going to give the car a quick rinse so you can see what it looks like where I've washed half the hood with dish soap and half the hood without. And while the water's running off of that, I'm going to wash some of the rest of the soap off the rest of the car. Since the sun decided to come back out. Alright, here you can see the difference between the side we washed with dish soap and the side that hasn't been washed yet. The side that we washed with dish soap has a lot more streaky puddles, where the side that hasn't been washed yet is a lot more beaded, so that if you were driving, all that beaded water would just run right off, where the side that has been washed with dish soap would just kind of stick. You can also see the same thing on the nose. I'll kind of get a closer up of the nose. The side that hasn't been washed yet is a lot more beaded, and the side that's not washed, it just kind of puddles. That's the reason why you never want to wash your car with dish soap. You always want to use a car soap to wash your car, because anytime you use a dish soap, you're going to strip the wax off of your car. I use a synthetic wax so that that's my personal preference. So just to give you an idea, the dish soap doesn't matter whether you're using synthetic or a carnauba-based wax. It strips it off of both. Okay, the car is dry, and as you can see, I've had to put out the awning. The sun is trying to come out. As will happen with the weather, you can never trust the weatherman. The weather is constantly subject to change. You can never predict what it's really going to happen. So, to try to protect myself and the car, I put up the awning to protect it while I'm trying to Claybar the car, rather than put it in the garage and try to video in the dark garage. Today I'm going to use a clay cloth rather than the traditional Claybar. This is going to be a new product for me to use. I've never used it before, so I'll let you know how it works. But this is what it looks like. It is a microfiber woven cloth with a rubber texture cloth on one side and microfiber on the other side. Feels kind of like rubber. A little bit knobby, not as coarse as some of the imitation Claybar products, but should be sufficient for my car since it's not terribly dirty. And then the other product that you use is a lubricant of some kind. You can use soap, you can use a Waterless Car Wash, you can also use Instant Detailer. What I happened to grab was some Waterless Car Wash. And you use that as a lubricant for the Claybar. You do one section at a time, you spray with the wash, or spray with the lubricant, wipe it down with the Claybar, go to the next section, spray with the lubricant, wipe it down with the Claybar, and continue till you get the whole car done. This particular one happens to smell like coconut. Surprise. And then just wipe. If you were using a clay cloth or actual Claybar, you would want to make sure you rotate your clay. You pick it up, wad it up in your hands every section or midway through a section, and make sure you have a fresh section of clay for each section of vehicle that you're doing, or part of the car that you're doing. With this, it said you could rinse it and move on to the next section. Double checking the directions on this. It says that if it gets dirty, to spray it with your lubricant and brush it off. If it gets too dirty, then you can wash it. Otherwise, just use the lubricant to clean it off with. Also, as you finish a section, wipe the section down with a microfiber cloth. After you've gotten it as smooth as you'd like to get it. You should be able to feel a difference in the texture between the sections that you've done and the section that you haven't. Your section that you finished should be smooth as glass. If it isn't, or if you feel a spot that's not, go over it again. It won't hurt to go over it again. The idea is to get all of the impurities out of your paint, so to get it as smooth as you can. Okay, we're about halfway done with the car. We got the hood, the roof, and the trunk lid done. Now all we have to do is the sides, the front end, and the tail panel. And we're about an hour and a half, 2 hours into the whole process. One thing to remind you, don't be afraid to use too much lubricant. If your Claybar sticks, if you're using standard Claybar, it will smudge and stick to your paint. You don't want that, so be plenty generous with your lubricant. And here here's the finished product. Completely done, completely claybarred.